I've Got a Friend is just one of the songs that have made James Taylor a legend.
It was in 1969, booked to play the Newport Folk Festival.
James Taylor turns 76, but have you ever wondered where he truly calls home? What kind of sanctuary does a legend retreat to after decades of fame and heartache? Is it just a house or something far more meaningful? Stay with us as we step inside the serene world James Taylor now calls his own, a creative sanctuary. Nestled in the quiet, rolling Berkshire Hills of western Massachusetts lies something more than a recording studio. It's a sacred space called the barn. Not simply a room filled with microphones and instruments, the barn is James Taylor's haven, where his deepest creative energies flow and where he returns to the roots of his artistry. It's not just where music is made, it's where music is lived. This cedar-shingled structure sits away from his main residence, hidden in nature, surrounded by towering trees and tranquility. From the outside, it resembles an ordinary New England barn, but once inside, it radiates warmth. The wood stove, which Taylor personally tends to, offers more than just heat. It creates a space that's grounding, intimate, authentic, and without the trappings of fame. As he once shared with people, the studio reflects who he is now, settled, deliberate, and content. His demeanor in the barn, calm, alert, and intensely present, is like a seasoned professor guiding his favorite class. Originally, the barn was just that, a barn. But Taylor, sensing its acoustic potential, converted it into a state-of-the-art studio. At first, it was only used for rehearsals, but the natural reverb of the space, the coziness, and the ability to work at his own pace shifted everything. Soon, this became the heart of Taylor's musical rebirth. It was in this space that he recorded Before This World, his first album of original material in over a decade. The sessions at the barn were different from what many artists experience. There were no ticking clocks, no rented spaces, and no sterile recording booths. Taylor worked with a trusted group of musicians, including bassist Jimmy Johnson and drummer Steve Gadd. They played together live, not in isolated booths, but within reach of each other's energy. Taylor preferred this method for its spontaneity, believing the human connection carried into the music itself. "We did as much live playing as possible," Taylor explained in a conversation with Music Radar, "because there's a magic that comes when everyone's listening in the same space." And then there was family. Taylor's wife Kim joined on backing vocals, and their young twin sons wandered in and out of sessions. One moment especially stands out. His son Henry, whose voice hadn't yet deepened, recorded a high harmony on one of the tracks. This simple family contribution added a rare intimacy to the album. "It's not about perfection," Taylor noted in an interview with Salon. "It's about sincerity, and the barn lets that come through." Still, creativity doesn't always bloom effortlessly. Taylor knew when to seek silence. At one point, needing to finish the lyrics for Before This World, he left the comfort of the barn for a friend's quiet apartment in Newport, Rhode Island. There, without distractions, he wrote. The contrast between that focused solitude and the warmth of his home studio shows just how thoughtful Taylor is about the environments he creates in, never forcing the process, always respecting its rhythm. But what makes the barn truly unique is not just the technical quality or the homey atmosphere. It's the spirit within it. It's a structure that reflects Taylor's values: simplicity, honesty, and deep emotional connection. The walls of the barn hold not just soundproofing, but memories. Each take, each moment of laughter with his band, every quiet pause before a lyric lands, these live in the wood, in the instruments, and in the still air that hangs between verses. Taylor has never been one to chase trend. Even when Before This World debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, he remained as grounded as ever. That success didn't change the way he approached his next session or the way he chopped wood for the stove. It just reaffirmed that truth, clarity, and patience still resonate in a noisy world. In fact, those who visited say there's a meditative quality to the studio. It's not flashy, yet everything feels intentional. From the vintage Neumann microphones to the warm lighting that changes subtly as the day progresses. You can almost hear the rhythm of seasons in the room. Autumn breezes sweep in soft golden light, while winter wraps the barn in silent snowdrifts. These elements don't interrupt the process. They feed it. Perhaps that's why, even when Taylor isn't working on a specific album, he still spends time in the barn. It's not just a workplace. It's a thinking space, a memory box, and often a retreat. He's spoken about simply sitting there with his guitar, not recording, not planning, just allowing music to arrive when it wants to. Sometimes nothing comes. Other times, it's as if the walls themselves whisper melodies back to him. But what kind of life surrounds a place like the barn? What daily rhythms, personal struggles, and quiet triumphs shape the man behind the music? A glimpse into Taylor's daily life. James Taylor's life in the tranquil Berkshires of Massachusetts paints a picture of peaceful simplicity and artistic devotion, yet beneath this serene surface lies a story rich with family dynamics, struggles, and personal growth. Taylor's life is not one solely defined by the soothing sounds of his guitar, but also by the complexities and challenges of family life, which have shaped his music, his worldview, and his sense of self. Though he is widely recognized for his soothing melodies and reflective lyrics, Taylor's personal journey has not always been as harmonious as the music he creates. His home, nestled in the quiet hills of the Berkshires, represents more than just a creative sanctuary. It is also a place where the intricacies of family life are played out in real time. Living in such a tranquil environment may seem idyllic, but it is here, in the very place that has inspired so much of his work, that the difficulties of family life and relationships have come to the forefront. At the core of his world is his wife, Kim, and their children. Over the years, Taylor has spoken openly about the delicate balance he has had to strike between the demands of his career and his devotion to his family. "My family is the center of everything," he said during an intimate interview with the New York Times. "They keep me grounded, and they remind me of what's truly important, but that doesn't mean it's always easy." Taylor's relationship with Kim, his second wife, has been a source of stability for him, especially after enduring a series of personal struggles. His first marriage to Carly Simon, while providing 2 children, was marked by tension and public scrutiny, leading to a high-profile divorce. In the years that followed, Taylor faced battles with addiction, depression, and a sense of personal turmoil that weighed heavily on him. In his music, these experiences are often captured in raw, emotional lyrics, but behind the scenes, Taylor was learning to rebuild and find peace again through the support of his family, especially Kim. "Family has been the greatest gift I could ever ask for," Taylor shared in a Rolling Stone interview. "But it hasn't always been smooth sailing. There have been hard times, moments of disconnect, and those periods of doubt where I didn't know if I could keep going." His honesty about the difficulties of family life provides a stark contrast to the idealized version of family that many fans may imagine. Taylor's story, however, is one of resilience, of learning from the past, healing, and striving to create a better environment for his loved ones. His relationship with Kim in particular has gone through its own ups and downs. Though they have been married for several years and have a strong bond, there have been periods of strain, especially when Taylor's own personal demons surface. Kim has spoken in interviews about the challenges of supporting a partner who is struggling with addiction, but she has also highlighted the strength and love that has kept them together. "James has his battles, but he's also one of the most loving, caring people I know," Kim explained in an interview with The Guardian. "Our relationship has weathered many storms, but it has made us stronger." Taylor himself has acknowledged that the struggle to maintain a balanced family life is ongoing. "It's not all rosy," he admitted during an NPR interview. "There are days when things feel like they're falling apart. You have to constantly check in with each other, communicate, and be there when things get tough. That's the reality of family life. It takes work, and it's not always easy, but it's worth it." This commitment to his family has had a profound impact on Taylor's approach to music. For him, songwriting is not just an artistic pursuit, it is a means of processing his emotions and understanding the relationships that shape him. Family dynamics, the struggles we've gone through, and the love that binds us all. "These are the things that fuel my music," he said in a recent interview with The New Yorker. "Music is where I can work through it all, whether it's joy or sadness, conflict or peace. The creative process is a reflection of my own life journey." The presence of family in Taylor's home, especially their shared experiences and intimate moments, is a key part of the environment that nurtures his creativity. His home is not simply a place to rest. It is a creative incubator where inspiration flows freely. The living room, with its grand piano and walls adorned with family photographs, offers a tangible connection to his past and present. Each picture tells a different story: family vacations, quiet dinners, candid moments of joy, and even the more difficult times that have shaped them. These memories, both happy and challenging, form the emotional backbone of Taylor's music. Yet, even as he finds inspiration in his home life, Taylor has also acknowledged that the pressure to maintain harmony within the family can be overwhelming at times. The constant balancing act of managing his public career and private life has sometimes tested his limits. "Being on the road and away from my family, it's a difficult thing," he confessed in an interview with the Rolling Stone. "There's a deep sense of guilt when I'm not there for them, especially with my kids growing up so quickly. I want to be present for everything, but that's not always possible." This sense of guilt over missed moments with his family has been a recurring theme in Taylor's life. As his children grow older, he's come to realize just how much of their lives he has missed out on during his years of touring. "There's always a sacrifice," Taylor said in a conversation with the New York Times. "I've made peace with it, but I do wish I could be around more, especially when my kids were younger." In spite of these struggles, the Taylors have managed to find moments of calm and connection in the chaos. The family's shared love for nature and quiet reflection has provided them with a foundation of strength. Taylor's walks through the woods surrounding their home, for instance, are often shared with Kim and the children, providing them with time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with each other. The simplicity of a walk in nature, without the distractions of modern life, is where we come together, Kim Taylor shared. "It's in these moments that we truly connect, both as a couple and as a family." As Taylor continues to navigate the complexities of family life and his demanding career, he has found a sense of peace in knowing that his struggles are a part of what makes him who he is. His music, his relationships, and his personal growth are all interconnected, forming a tapestry of experiences that continue to inspire his work. Family, love, struggle, and joy, these are the things that matter most, he said in his conversation with NPR. "Everything else comes second to that." What kind of childhood home shapes a man whose music feels like a gentle conversation with the soul? Let us tell you: The Roots in Chapel Hill. James Taylor's journey to becoming one of the most beloved and enduring singer-songwriters in history began in the idyllic town of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It was here, in a home that was as much a work of art as a place of residence, that Taylor's earliest influences took root, both in terms of his personal life and his artistic development. The house in which Taylor grew up was no ordinary suburban dwelling. It was a modernist creation designed by renowned architects, and it played a crucial role in shaping his aesthetic sensibilities and understanding of the world around him. This residence, with its clean lines and seamless integration with the natural landscape, provided a serene and nurturing environment that would go on to influence not only his taste in design, but also his approach to music and creativity. The architecture of Taylor's childhood home was a departure from the conventional, standing in stark contrast to many of the homes surrounding it. With wide, open spaces, large windows, and an emphasis on natural materials, the house allowed Taylor and his siblings to develop an appreciation for simplicity, order, and a sense of tranquility that would become integral parts of his personality. The integration of the home with the surrounding natural world was especially important. The home was not an isolated structure, but rather a space that was deeply connected to the land it occupied. It felt as though the house itself was a part of the landscape, its design reflecting a harmonious blend of human ingenuity and the beauty of nature. As a child, Taylor would have spent hours in this environment, absorbing the peaceful energy that radiated from the house and its surroundings. The spacious interiors encouraged creativity, offering him a chance to explore the freedom that an open, minimalist space can inspire. These formative years, surrounded by such beauty, set the stage for Taylor's artistic vision, and it was here that he learned to appreciate the intersection of art and life, where every detail, from the architecture to the way the light moved through the rooms, served to inspire reflection and creative thought. In addition to the influence of the home's architecture, Taylor's upbringing in Chapel Hill exposed him to a rich cultural environment. The town itself was a blend of progressive ideas, academic excellence, and artistic expression. And it was here that Taylor first encountered the vibrant local music scene. His early exposure to folk and classical music, often within the context of family gatherings or community events, gave him a musical foundation that would serve as the cornerstone of his career. As the son of a well-known academic and a mother who was a singer and songwriter, Taylor's exposure to music was both a natural extension of his environment and a direct reflection of his family's creative inclinations. The values of his childhood home, simplicity, harmony, and an openness to new ideas, echoed throughout his early musical career. Taylor's first guitar, which he received at the age of 12, was a gift that marked the beginning of his deep connection to music. As he spent hours practicing in the solitude of his room, the architectural beauty of his home and the stillness of his surroundings provided the ideal backdrop for Taylor's musical experimentation. These early experiences in Chapel Hill, in the confines of that modernist house, laid the groundwork for a career that would span decades and touch millions of lives. As James Taylor grew older, his bond with Chapel Hill remained strong, deeply influencing his creative journey. The modernist house where he was raised served as both sanctuary and inspiration, blending natural serenity with thoughtful design, elements that would shape his introspective songwriting style. Chapel Hill's rich cultural landscape and peaceful environment nurtured his artistic sensibilities, providing a foundation that stayed with him throughout his life. Even as he ventured beyond the town, the lessons and ambiance of his childhood home continued to guide his music and identity, making Chapel Hill an enduring cornerstone of his personal and artistic legacy. Step inside the walls that didn't just shelter a young James Taylor, but shaped him. Watch how silence, space, and song came together to mold a legend. Echoes through the walls. There's a rare quiet strength to James Taylor, an artist shaped not by flash or spectacle, but by solitude, reflection, and the subtle hum of nature. He didn't chase noise to find himself. He retreated into stillness, and it was in the folds of that stillness, in the hush of his childhood home in Chapel Hill, that the roots of his creativity grew deep and wide. The house wasn't just an architectural gem. It was a living, breathing part of his story. It invited contemplation, almost demanded it. Nestled among tall Carolina pines, the structure's minimalist grace seemed to whisper rather than shout. That house had a way of holding space for silence, Taylor once noted during a conversation with NPR's Fresh Air. It didn't ask for anything from you. It just allowed you to listen. It wasn't just about solitude. Within those open halls, music emerged organically. Taylor didn't remember sitting down to practice. Instead, he remembered drifting into sound. The layout of the house encouraged wandering, not just physically but imaginatively. Rooms opened into one another without barriers, much like how melodies would weave into his thoughts. It was an invitation to drift, he said during an interview with American Songwriter, and drifting was how I learned to write. While his adult fans may see him as a polished musician, the younger James was constantly observing how the sun moved through the skylights, how the echo of a footstep changed depending on the hour. It was this attention to the natural rhythms of his environment that later shaped his melodic timing and lyrical pacing. I think my songs breathe because that house taught me how to breathe, he once reflected during an interview with The Guardian. Years later, when news emerged that developers might replace the iconic home with modern luxury builds, the outcry wasn't only from architects or historians, it was from fans who had never even stepped foot inside. People understood that this wasn't just a house. It was the cocoon in which a young boy, burdened by internal storms, found his way toward music that would go on to heal millions. Thanks to a collaboration between local preservationists, arts foundations, and Taylor's own quiet advocacy, the home was eventually secured and restored with careful reverence. Now open to visitors, it doesn't showcase glitz or grandeur. It tells a quieter story. You can sit on the porch and hear birdsong over distant traffic, trace the frame of the guest house doorway, and imagine young voices harmonizing long before any stage knew their names. For many, it's a rare kind of sanctuary, one that turns a passive fan into an active witness. It allows people to not just hear the music, but step into the space where it first whispered to life. In doing so, the home continues its quiet work, gently shaping everyone who walks through it, just as it once shaped James Taylor. What happens when the silence that once nurtured creativity begins to echo with pain? Come with us to know. Break Shot. Reflecting on the past, James Taylor has always been the kind of person who doesn't flinch from the truth, especially his own. There's a quiet gravity about him, a self-awareness that doesn't ask for sympathy but invites understanding. In his audio memoir, Break Shot, My First 21 Years, Taylor opens the door to a past that shaped him not through triumphs, but through trials. Told in his own voice, this deeply personal reflection doesn't glamorize the early years. Instead, it walks listeners through the shadows he once stumbled through, honestly, vulnerably, and without fanfare. Taylor didn't come from chaos, at least not the kind that was visible from the outside. His family was intelligent, respected, and outwardly accomplished. But beneath that polish were emotional silences, hidden pain, and mental health struggles that left their mark. It was a house where people were struggling quietly, Taylor confided in an interview with CBS Sunday Morning. And as the middle child in a large family, he felt the weight of everything that wasn't being said. The pressure to be okay, to keep up appearances, was heavy. But even in those quiet cracks, music slipped through. What Break Shot reveals, more than any previous interview or album, is how close Taylor came to unraveling. There were years where the world outside had no idea just how lost he felt inside. I wasn't cut out for adolescence, he shared with Rolling Stone. It hit me like a truck. The struggle wasn't only emotional, it became physical, manifesting in breakdowns that led to hospitalization. Taylor doesn't shy away from these details. He recounts his time at McLean Hospital not as a dramatic turning point, but as part of a slow climb out of something deeper, a pervasive sense of displacement and emotional overload. And yet, through that darkness, music was always a thread. Not a lifeline in the heroic sense, but something quieter, more faithful, always there. It was during these years that Taylor began writing in earnest, using music not to escape, but to understand. Songs became his mirror. I started to write not because I wanted to be a musician, he explained to NPR, but because it was the only way I could figure things out. This wasn't about fame or performance. It was survival. What makes Break Shot so compelling is the way Taylor weaves memory with melody. In one moment, he recounts the sound of rain on a North Carolina roof. In another, the hollow ache of boarding school loneliness. He doesn't paint himself as a victim or a hero, just a boy trying to make sense of a complicated world with a guitar in his hands and too much on his mind. Listening to Break Shot, one begins to understand that Taylor's music isn't just beautiful because of its melodies. It's beautiful because of its honesty. And it's that honesty, rooted in the difficult truths of his earliest years, that continues to resonate with listeners who see their own broken parts reflected in his songs. But once the echoes of the past fade, what kind of harmony does the present hold? A harmonious present. There's a particular kind of grace to the way James Taylor lives now, measured, mindful, unhurried. He's not chasing anything anymore, and perhaps that's what gives his current life its quiet power. Taylor has always been the kind of man who found more meaning in stillness than in movement, more music in a sigh than a shout. These days, that quality has only deepened. Nestled within the rolling hills of western Massachusetts, Taylor's home isn't a retreat, it's a rhythm. The slow rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, the creak of old wooden floors. These are the sounds that fill his days, acting as both backdrop and balm. Peace isn't something you arrive at, Taylor once told CBS This Morning with a half smile, sipping tea on his porch. It's something you choose again and again. My home helps me make that choice. Unlike the Chapel Hill house of his youth, this home doesn't carry the weight of origin stories or teenage discovery. It's not haunted by the ghosts of a formative past, but instead anchored in the stability of the present. There's warmth in the simplicity. Shelves lined with books that have traveled with him for decades, worn guitars leaning in corners like old friends, and the unmistakable scent of cedar lingering in the air. He often writes by the windows overlooking the woods, pencil in hand. notebook resting on his lap. "People think I'm always strumming or recording," he joked in a conversation with the New York Times. "But really, I spend a lot of time just staring at trees." That's where the songs start. Family has taken center stage in this chapter of his life. His wife and their twin sons provide a kind of gentle grounding he once didn't believe he'd find. He's spoken candidly to Rolling Stone about how becoming a father again later in life gave him a renewed sense of purpose. A second wind, he called it. Their laughter echoes through the house, not disrupting the calm but enriching it, like a new melody layered into an old favorite tune. Even as he continues to record, tour, and perform for sold-out crowds, Taylor's sanctuary remains rooted in his daily rituals. He tends to his garden. He walks the same trail each morning, sometimes alone, sometimes with his dog. "It's a life I didn't know how to want when I was younger," he admitted in an interview with PBS NewsHour. "But now that I'm here, it feels like the only thing I ever truly needed." And when he does play, whether in the studio or to an intimate room of fans, you can hear it, that serenity, that sense of place. It's not just in his voice, it's in the space between notes, the quiet confidence of a man who has finally learned to live in tune with himself. What are your thoughts on James Taylor Home? Share your thoughts in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting Hollywood stories.